Hello, my fellow horse lovers. Hey, it's Wednesday in the arena with Dr. Pamela. Welcome to my private arena. Come on in. Hey, have any of you ever had or have a horse experiencing things like hoof issues, maybe some stiff muscles, maybe some digestive orders, tendon-related pain or disorders, even vision, eye issues? Has anybody ever experienced any of this with their horses? What if I told you it might be related to the gallbladder? You're like, wait, Dr. Pamela, horses don't have a gallbladder, right? I know, but they do have a gallbladder meridian, they do have a gallbladder ting point, and they energetically still have a gallbladder system. So today I want to talk about some do's and don'ts with your horse regarding the gallbladder. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Dr. Pamela. I specialize in equine telepathy, holistic healing, and I focus my work on deepening the human-horse connection through energetic alignment, communication, emotions, and helping horse owners truly listen and honor their horse's needs. So thank you for joining me today. Let's jump right in. What is the gallbladder's role? Well, we know it helps store and release bile to help digest fats, right, in humans. And so if your horse doesn't have a gallbladder, my number one don't is don't feed them oils. They can't digest them. They don't have a gallbladder. But wait, Dr. Pamela, my horse looks so pretty and shiny because I give him corn oil. Guess what? He's not digesting it. He's actually excreting it through his skin. Remember, the skin is the largest organ. If they can't digest it, it's got to come out somewhere, right? So your horse isn't actually benefiting by you feeding them the wrong fats and oils. They're just looking shiny because the oil's coming through their skin, right? This is one of the do's, is because your horse doesn't have a gallbladder, is they need to graze continuously, right? Their liver is constantly producing bile, and so they need to constantly be grazing and eating, and they're not meant to eat just one big large meal twice a day. So even though they don't have the physical gallbladder, they still have the meridians, the energetic pathways that affect the digestion that we just talked about, and even it affects their movement and their emotional balance, right? So I talked about don't feed high fat foods, don't, especially oils, processed fats, right? They just have this lack of ability to break it down and absorb it the way humans or carnivores do, right? And the other reason we don't want to feed the oils is because it's going to overload the liver. It's going to lead to sluggish digestion. It's going to lead to a congested liver. And then we have metabolic issues. And everybody's like, I don't know why. That's just the way it is. Well, I have a vet who's in his 70s, and he told me that when he went to vet school back in the day, there was no such thing as metabolic syndrome. It wasn't in the textbooks. They weren't learning in school. So what's changed? Well, how we're feeding our horses has changed. So better alternatives would be whole food sources like chia seeds, right? So that leads me to talking about how we don't want to assume that fats boost the horse's energy, right? Because unlike other species, the horses have to rely on their fiber fermentation in the hind gut. So feeding large amounts of fats really does inhibit the digestion, and it leads to other gut imbalances. Better energy sources, high fiber, nutrient dense forage, free choice grass hay, right? In the wild, horses are not going to be eating corn oil. They're not going to be in the wild eating a lot of things that we feed them in captivity, right? And then the third thing is I don't want us to ignore the emotional and the energetic role of the gallbladder, because even though they don't have a physical gallbladder, they still have the energy system, right? So in traditional Chinese medicine, the gallbladder governs decision making, it governs boldness, courage, and their ability to be flexible. And these are all crucial for our horse's well-being. So an imbalanced gallbladder meridian can show up as stiffness in the body, tight hips, tight shoulders, fascia restrictions. So you can pay your massage therapist, you can do all the energy work, you can do the fascia releases, you can do all the body work, but if you're not actually addressing the gallbladder, then you're not going to get optimal results, right? We're going to deal with a hesitant horse. We're going to have a frustrated horse, which also leads to a frustrated owner, right? And they can be kind of weird and indecisive in their training program. And it's such a huge explanation of tension and irritability. And we always just brush it off and like, oh, he's just having a bad hair day. And it's like, no, your horse is not balanced somewhere. So ways we can support the energetic gallbladder. Well, body work, energy work. We can all support them that way, but we have to be doing the right kind, right? We have to support the liver, because the liver is compensating for the gallbladder. Last week we talked about the liver. The week before we talked about the spring detox. And do you see how this is all connected and comes together? We also have to encourage movement. And horses are not meant to live in stalls 24/7. If they're not moving, their energy is not in balance. It's not helping with the digestion, right? And we also have to address the horse's emotional balance. And people don't always understand that there are ways to work with the horse's emotion that are beyond horse training and beyond body work techniques. We can work with emotions. Emotions get trapped inside the body and they turn into physical symptoms, right? That is part of the mind-body connection. It's not woo, it is science. There is science to back this up. So quick recap, okay? I want us to focus on forage-based nutrition, provide free choice grass hay if they're not already out on pasture. We need to support the liver. We need to support the energetic system. We need to support the emotional system, and we need to allow for natural movement, and we need to stop feeding oils. And I know that like coconut oil and hemp seed oil and some of these oils are healthier versions, right? But the horse still can't digest them. They just excrete them out through the skin. So there are other alternatives, and this is why I always test the horse. It's not always a one-size-fits-all. When I'm doing my PE assessments and doing a reading on the horse, I always test to see what the horse needs. Some horses can tolerate chia. Some people like to feed flax. I found long-term feeding of flax can have some long-term issues, but maybe they could tolerate it for, 20 days. It's all about the individual horse, finding out what their individual needs are and making sure they're balanced physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. How do we do that? We do that in my PEC assessment. So there you have it, folks. You can tell I'm super passionate about this, and the gallbladder and the liver and the spring toxic cleanse is just one small piece of the puzzle, right? So stay tuned for next week, Wednesday, in the arena. And we're going to talk about how this all comes together and what you can do for your horse to get them through spring, because spring is a couple days away. So until next week, horse lovers, enjoy your horse.